So I've got this quart base. Now I'm actually going to be using this for my recordings. So it was, it wasn't expensive, but I'm going to see if I can fix it up to make it play much better. The issue is that I've adjusted the action here, and it was still very high here, and I had the bridge down as low as I possibly could go. So the only thing I can probably do is to shim the neck. So I'm going to create a shim that I can put in here to give me another mill that should sort of even things out. Then I'll go over and I'll give this a fret dress as well, just to make sure it's all nice before I put the strings back on. So we'll start that now. So I've just undone the strings. I'm going to try and use these again. I probably will go and buy new ones because these are the strings that came with it. But apart from that, we'll see how we go. Now there's a couple of ways that I could go about this too. I could actually use a rasp and take some out of here, so taper it down that way. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a very, very small thin piece of wood that's 1 millimeter thick and use that, because I think that way at least I'm not having to touch the body. I can just have that stuck to underneath the actual neck that I've got here. So I'll show you that piece of wood. So the wood that I'm using here is only 1 mil thick. I think that's going to be enough. I have got a 2 mil one as well, but I'm going to try this first just to see if this works. Now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the neck onto this piece of wood here, and then I'm going to use a pencil and go around the area where it is, and then I'm going to cut that actually out. I saw this on YouTube. I can't remember who it actually was, but it's a great idea. If I can find it, I'll put down the link below to whose video it was. So all I'm going to do, like I said, is just trace around this, and then I'm going to cut it out. So you can see here that I've cut the piece of wood, and it's going to basically sit there. But what I have to do now is I've got to file this down so it goes to nothing down this side and stays as it is on this side. So I'm going to stick it to the desk. Now this is, like I said, I saw that video on YouTube, which I'll link below, on how he did this, because he uses a bit of tape and some super glue. So it's the only way you can sort of get this to hold down while you're actually going to file it. So I'll do that now. So what you do is you add some masking tape onto your desk, and you also put masking tape on the back of this as well. Now what I'm now going to do is I'm going to run super glue down here, just a little bit and just a little bit there, and then I'm going to stick the masking tape onto this. So it's going to hold it in place. As you can see now, it's held down. It was genius really, because I couldn't work out how to do this. You can buy these of course, but I just thought I'd try and make one like this. Then after you finish sanding, you can just peel this off. So what we'll do now is I'm going to start sanding it down. So all I'm doing is I'm just using this STUMAC file here, and I'm just running along like this. So just causing that, to slant down, as you can sort of see through here. So that'll be how I go. So I'm just going to keep going until I've got this paper thin down the bottom, down here. Now I'm just using this very, very flat tool to get it off because it's very thin. And then it should just come off, as you can see through here. So it's very, very thin on this end, and then it's thicker on the other end. I've decided to use 2 mil because there was already on here, when I bought it, they'd stuck a bit of a shim on there anyway. They'd actually used a bit of sandpaper, which you can see here. They'd used that on there, so obviously that was just a quick fix. I suppose you get what you pay for. So now this is basically just going to go in like this, and it'll go down to 0, almost nothing down this side. Now you do have to take the screw holes out though, so I'm going to have to be careful with that because it could split it. So I might use a Dremel and just cut those holes out before I stick it back on the neck. So what I'm doing here, I'm just going to put the shim inside here. I will take off this little bit that's coming across there. Then you just have to cut out the screw holes that are inside here. So I'll have to put markings. I'll just put like a screwdriver or something through the back, just so I can see where I've got to put the holes in. So now I'm just getting the base ready. I've straightened the neck, made sure it's dead straight, and I'm just marking the frets because I'm going to give them a dress now, because there's a few that were rocking when I used the rocker on it. So I'll go through this process. So you can see from the first run, this one here was very high. A couple of these were also very high. So you can see they were sort of all over the place. Down here they're starting to get lower. That was high there and there. There it's low, just a little bit on that side. So it is actually all over the place. So it certainly was worth doing it. But like I said, I suppose you get what you pay for, because this is not an expensive guitar. But it's going to be interesting to see how it comes up once I've done all the frets. So I've masked up all of the fretboard here. Now I'm going to start to give the frets a shape. So I'll start that now. So I'm going to be using this file that I got from Shimming. Here it's the centered Z file. I've got two of them. I've got the original one here, which you have to do on both sides, and this is the centered one, which gives you a nice even cut as you go right across the actual fret. So now I'm going to put some more blue marker on there just so I can sort of see how it goes, and you just file this until you get a nice fine line that goes down the center here. So I'm going to have to do that through all the frets. So I won't bother you with that because it's going to take quite some time. And then we'll look at polishing it and sanding it next. Now I'm just going to go over this now with sandpaper. I just sort of rub back and forth. I'm going to start with 600, then I'm going to go to 8, then it's going to be 1,000, 1,200 and 1,500, and then 2,000. Then I'll finish it off with a Dremel, which should make it look really nice. So once I've done all this sandpapering, I'll pop back on and I'll show you what it looks like. So this is all done now. Came up really beautiful actually. I love the shine you get once you use that Dremel. Now we've just got to put the whole thing back together. So now I'm just going to use this Dunlop lemon oil. I'm just going to put it on the whole thing, leave it for a minute or so, and then wipe the excess off. I've just stuck this on. I'm just going to use my finger to just sort of rub it all in. Love this stuff. It also smells really nice as well. You don't have to leave it long, you just leave it soak in. I've already done this one previous actually. When I first got it, I gave it an oil and a clean. But now that I've done the frets and everything, I'm probably going to have to adjust the nut now though as well. I'll look at that once I put it all back together, because it's now a fraction lower. I didn't take much off this side, so it might still be okay. I'll just have to check it a little bit later on. So what I'm going to do is just leave that for a couple of minutes, and then I'll just wipe it off. So all I do now is I put the shim in, and then I'm going to, you can see I've already cut out the holes. I'm just going to stick the neck back in, and then I just screw it in at the back. So we'll do that and then we'll have a look at it. So here we go, I've put the neck back on. Now you can see now, because I've now got that shim in, I've got a really good action down here. I think it was 0.75, I think was the setting that I used. And it's nice, it's all the way along. The other good part now too is I've got plenty of adjustment that I can do with these now, whereas before they were totally down the bottom and I couldn't move them anywhere. It seems to be going really good. I did change the bridge. I put a new bridge on here. The other one was pretty cheap and nasty, so I've put a decent one on there. The other thing I think I'll probably change is the pots. I noticed one's a little bit scratchy, so I'll do that in another episode. And I think, looking at it too, the action's a little bit low on the nut. So I think I'm going to replace the nut, but that'll be another video that I'll share. It's not sort of buzzing or anything though, so it might be okay. I'll just have to see how it goes. But frets are done. It's now looking really good. It's going to be interesting to see how it sounds. I'm not a bass player. Well, I am even the ordinary guitarist, but it's interesting anyway. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Look, if you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. It's going to be interesting to see what difference this makes. It certainly, I just had a quick play and it's amazing the difference you get though if you have a decent action on it, whereas before it was very high and there was buzzing now, whereas the frets now are perfectly flat. So yeah, apart from that, I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.